Hello, Capricorn. Thank you so much for being here, you guys. Happy birthday to you and Happy New Year. I hope all of you guys had a beautiful holiday season. All right, Cap. So from Alice here, you pulled choices, feeling blocked and restrained. And then from Whispers of Healing, you pulled vibration. Now, very simply, it could be that, you're needing to raise your vibrational energy in order to make a choice. But I always think things are deeper than that. So when you look at choices, this one kind of reminds me of the Two of Swords, but there's also a feeling of like an impasse here. So for some of you, it could be that I don't know what to choose because there's nothing that I can possibly do that's going to make a situation move forward. So you may feel like your hands are like literally tied. And for some of you, it's just, I need to make a difficult choice here to move my life forward or to get a situation to move forward. But for some of you, you just feel blocked. Like no matter what I choose, it's not going to make a difference, or you don't know what the best choice is for you to make in order for you to not feel restrained anymore. Now, again, vibration is going to be about raising the vibrational energy. Now, this one, though, it really goes in depth about how it's normal for us to have shifts in the way that we feel during the day, especially when we're going through the healing process, right? But this is like reminding you, don't get too low. Be careful about, getting depressed and getting to the point where there's no ambition in terms of wanting to make difficult choices to move a situation or your life forward. You have to be careful about where you're at, where you're thinking, how you're feeling. But I also think it's more so about the choices that you have to make. I think that you need to be careful about how you feel. So a lot of times, we tend to ignore what our intuition is telling us because we want something, even though we know it's not something good for us. And I think that for a lot of you, you need to pay attention to the choices that you're making and how you feel about it, because those choices may end up making you feel blocked or restrained. Right? But either way, you need to be careful about where your energy is when it comes to the choices that you're making. All right, Cap. Here is your overall. Yeah, I'm fucking telling you. I'm fucking telling you. I can't make this shit up. The Two of Swords. Yes. Yeah. And again, I don't think that you can ignore the situation anymore. The problem is when you look at the Two of Swords, right, we get into this place where we choose to blind ourselves to what is going on around us because we don't want to have to make that choice, especially if it's a choice where we have to, get something out of our lives, right? We may not be ready for that yet. But very clearly here, needing to make a difficult choice. Wow, Cap, the hell? Now, in the past, the Four of Pentacles, okay. So, one of two things. This is about you not wanting to give anything to any type of a situation, right? A lot of times it can show that we're holding on too tightly to something and not wanting to let go because of fear of loss. And other times it can show that we're trying to just maintain things the way that they are. We don't want to see change. And again, because it is a fear of loss. Now it could be here that financially you're going to have to, give something up here, but maybe you don't feel like that's the right thing to do, right? Being the Pentacles here, but, we'll see. But very clearly here, somebody is holding on very tightly to something, or you're not wanting to give anything, but you're going to have to make a choice here and let something go. Okay, in the present, the Queen of Cups. Now, with that, we could be talking about you feeling this way because of a person that you're dealing with, male, female, water, you know how that goes. But with the Queen of Cups being in the present moment, is it because of your emotional investment into a person or a situation here that you're realizing that you're either going to have to let them go or you're going to have to start giving something to the situation in order to see it move forward, right? And as far as the person that you're dealing with here, when I look at the Queen of Cups, first of all, right, the Queen's what we internalize. I look at this as, your emotions are like pulling you to invest into something. So there's the emotional investment there. And it could be, like I said, because of a person. It's like you have these strong emotions or feelings surrounding them Or this could just be about a situation that you're dealing with, right? But healing again, right? Emotional well-being. But I want to know why you're feeling like that. Okay. Future conditions, the Three of Pentacles. And again, right, like going back to the work situation here. For some of you, maybe there was somebody that you didn't want to work with. Maybe you were trying to protect yourself and your emotions with the Queen of Cups, right? You know, and I think that with the Three of Pentacles and looking at the Two of Swords, you know, I have to wonder if this isn't about a situation with a person, you know, forget about work and money here. I think that the Four of Pentacles may be showing that you have given a lot in the past and you're coming into this going, I can't give them anymore. And they may have done some damage emotionally. And I say that because we're looking at you needing to make a difficult choice on whether or not to work with them. Now, are you wanting to work things out? Are your emotions for someone pulling you to try to work on this? But, you know, I look at that and I think, well, they have to do their part too. But I think that the Three of Pentacles being in future conditions can definitely show that you and someone here are going to be working together or trying to work on a situation. Now, in terms of work, you know, this could be that you're going to have to give a little bit here and work with a group of people if you want to have your skills and your talents shown, right? This could be a new project here where going it alone isn't optional anymore. You know, but we're still looking at you needing to make the choice to do this. You know, and this, the other thing though too, is if we're talking about a person you're dealing with, it could very well be that you know that this is somebody that you need to have out of your life, but you can't though. And it's because of that Queen of Cups, right? Wow, Cap. Your best path to follow, the Nine of Pentacles. Look at that shit. That, in terms of your advice, is saying that even if you're fighting with a choice on whether or not to work with somebody, and even if you do make the choice here to work with them, the Nine of Pentacles is saying that there is a part of you that is going to have to stay independent from these people, this person. You have to worry about, you know, being secure and independent on your own. You know, and it's everything is like realistic and practical here. And I don't, because the Queen of Cups sitting here, I don't feel like this is going to be financial for a lot of you. It's weird. I think that even if somebody is wanting you to work with them or wanting to work things out with you, there's a part of you that still needs to keep your own independence. Don't be dependent on what another person does, right? But now going back to financially, I think that the Nine of Pentacles is saying that, you know, maybe if you feel this way, that you would be better off kind of like doing things on your own. You may be able to give some assistance here with the Three of Pentacles in terms of people that you're working with. But I think that the Four of Pentacles would be accurate in that there are some things that you need to hold on to and not be so, you know, willing to give up, right? But her Judgment. Wow. So, oh my goodness. So I'm looking at it this way. We're talking about you coming into the situation, holding on tightly, holding on for dear life. I can't give anything else. But you're being faced with this choice, but it's based on how you are feeling emotionally here. And with judgment connected to the past, I think that, you know, you have clearly made an assessment on this person, this situation, and have closed the door on it. But a lot of times judgment can show that shit's being resurrected and we're going to be forced to have to look at it again. But I think that the reason why this is happening is because you're catching feelings. There is a part of you on an emotional level that's being pulled into wanting to work on something with someone. And I think that you're questioning your own emotions as well. But wow, yeah, with judgment. But the thing is I go back to this and I think, okay, so even though this may be the situation, you have to make sure that you keep your independence and the security that you have gained for yourself. Don't be willing to give that up. But this is a big thing for you. And if it is about a person, I think that at some point like I said, you may have given a lot to this person, but the way that you come into this is like, I don't know. I don't know that I can give my heart to them. That's what that looks like. And with judgment, it's like, I want to close the door on this. I want to make peace with it, because it is about making peace with the past, reviewing it, making peace with it, and moving on. But because it's attached to that Queen of Cups, I'm telling you, and that Two of Swords has the feeling of, I know that I shouldn't even be considering this. Wow, Cap. Your hopes and your fears, the Eight of Wands. Now, one of the things that I talk about when this shows up in this position, first of all, let's look at the Eight of Wands. We're talking about fast, things moving quickly. Besides communication, we're also talking about getting things lined up, getting things ready to go, right? But a lot of times it can show that things are happening quickly, especially in terms of the way that you're feeling. And you may feel like you need to make, a do or die choice, like right in the moment. But I would say to you, don't feel like you have to rush to make a choice here. Because if you're feeling like the Two of Swords, you're going to feel bad no matter what choice you make. You're going to be looking back at it and second guessing it the entire way through. So, a lot of times we would look at that and say, you can't stay in this position. But fuck that. If you're going to end up feeling bad later on, you don't need to make a choice. Not making a choice is making a choice, right? And maybe that's the best thing for you to do right now, especially if you have to worry about your security and your independence with the Nine of Pentacles. So I would say, don't let things get out of control, especially in terms of the way that you're feeling. Now, if you're hoping and fearing communication, I would say don't have any kind of expectations, right? I mean, that's simple. But don't force yourself to make a choice or feel like if you don't make this choice, it's going to pass you by. And that could be the problem though, too. We could definitely be talking about somebody who's wanting to have a second chance with you. Whether it's through work or whether it's a personal relationship, and that could be any relationship, right? It doesn't have to be romantic, like we always say. Now the other part of it though, too, could be that you're hoping that things would hurry the fuck up, right? So that you can see a situation a little bit more clearly and understand, the truth of the situation, your own personal truth, so you can make a choice. But you're needing to focus on this, and that's what I keep going back to. It's okay to assist others, but you don't want to give all of yourself to the situation, right? There is very much a part of you that needs to kind of like hold back a little bit. Wow, man. And then coming out the Nine of Swords. No, that's what I'm talking about. So the Nine of Swords, this coming out is saying that more than likely you're going to be put in this position where you're not going to be able to make a choice on whether or not you want to work with someone, work on a situation with someone in particular. The Nine of Swords is like all of these thoughts that are just tearing up your mind, fears and anxieties, and that may be because of what has happened in the past. And I go back to the Four of Pentacles and I look at you coming into this going, I can't give my heart anymore. I can't give my heart to this. And you don't, and if you make a choice and you do it like abruptly, that is where you're going to end up here, thinking about the worst, expecting the worst. If you're in that position, then, maybe you need to look at this choice a little bit differently. You don't have to say, okay, I'm going to work on things with you. And you don't have to say, okay, no, I don't want nothing to do with you. Maybe you can say, well, let's talk. You know what I'm saying? But I look at that Nine of Swords and I think, man, what the hell did someone do that got you in this place of like thinking about things and expecting the worst from them? Cap, don't make any choices that you feel like you're going to regret later. And don't feel like you have to. If you're put in that position and this choice ends up passing you by, then maybe it wasn't the right thing for you. And then I go back to vibration and I think, again, you have to think about the way that you're feeling about a choice. If you don't feel good about it, there's no point in doing that, right? So let's start with the Ace of Cups. New love, new beginning, right? New emotional fulfillment with the Four of Pentacles. You're not sure that you want to give your heart to this person, this situation. I'm telling you. Now, with the Page of Pentacles, if we're looking at judgment here, especially with the Queen of Cups, I think that you are questioning your own emotions. But I think that you're questioning, how you have viewed the situation and this person, though, too. But my first question when I saw that was, did they really learn? How much did they learn? Because the Page of Pentacles is going to use new information to build something new. And a lot of times it can show that somebody is wanting to start over or rebuild things or get something going. But it's all based on, the information that they have used or have gained. The information that they've gained and how they use that. But has this person learned? Do they know you? That's the better question. Do you feel like they know you? Do they understand where things went wrong, where you're coming into this going, I can't give to you anymore. I need to protect my heart, right? Now, moving into the Hangman, and again, right, don't, just don't. If you feel bad about this in any way whatsoever, don't make a choice, right? You need to give yourself time here to look at things from a different perspective so that you can make a choice that is easier, right? I would rather have seen the Two of Wands and the Two of Swords here. But I don't think that this is about the other person holding up the show, because you're showing the Nine of Swords coming out with this. I think that, before you make a choice here, you have to make sure that those kinds of thoughts are not determining the choices that you make. Fear and anxiety. But I would say that the Hangman is probably the best thing in this situation. Wow, Cap. I want to know about that one. You guys are going to have to let me know, right? In general, it's not going to be for everybody, but no matter what the situation is, I don't think that right now is the time for you to make any kind of a choice. But even if the situation stays at, the stalemate. So detachment, I would say that as far as that goes, especially with the Four of Pentacles, whatever ideas you've had surrounding dealing with the situation in work or the situation with this person, you have to let go of that and believe that you're being guided to do the right thing, right? Detach yourself from the situation, and that would be the Hangman coming out for sure. But guidance, I like. As long as you believe that your own inner guidance system is directing you in the right way, and you're going to be fine, But you need to detach your own mind and your own heart from the situation and take a step back, I think. But not bad. It's not bad. That to me is saying that as long as you believe, you're going to be fine. You are not going to be alone. And clearly here, because you are protected by angels, you're fine. You're going to be fine. I would say, Cap, that the big thing is whether this is a work situation or a person that you're dealing with. If you don't feel like you can give your full heart to it, then don't force yourself to make a choice that you're going to be uncomfortable with in the end. But I think that what you need more than anything is to give yourself some time to see the situation differently, especially with judgment being in your environment and then your emotions clouding the situation with the Queen of Cups. But remember, what is more important here is that you feel secure with yourself, right? You have your sense of independence here, that you're not, giving any of that up.